And welcome to another News Game Plus. I'm Dermie Pool, and I'm here with New Game Plus executive producer, the O'Callaghan Reen.
That was the worst. I mean,
I like that one.
I got the premise. It just I don't know. I think
Well, O'Callaghan Reen works for you. You're a big, hairy, violent.
Yeah, well, he's not that big in the comics. That's the thing. Like, anyway,
in real life, he's like about your height.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm like Beast, but that's a different problem now.
Mister. No, we'll talk about that later. Leave me alone. So anyway, did you see that movie? I'm going to go straight into that. Did you?
That's very good.
That was so much fun.
Yep, it's
and
phenomenal.
I got to watch it again because there's a lot of jokes I just didn't get.
Did you watch the first two movies?
Yeah.
So if you watch the first two, a lot of that ties. But a lot of it, I mean, the second movie was a love letter to 90s Marvel, and this movie was a love letter to that Fox era Marvel. Like, a lot of the twists and turns and stuff were, like, all the meme cameos make sense in a movie that is a meme cameo. You know what I mean? So it worked. It had gravitas. Morena Baccarin is still the hottest woman in the fucking world. Jesus
Holy moly!
Christ.
That's some DNA
Bro,
she's packing.
50. I'm saying.
That's some DNA. Have you seen Gabriella Sabatini, the tennis player?
Yeah.
Talking good DNA.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to get creepy if we do that, and we're not a YouTube with 300 million subs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We haven't reached enough subs yet to start doing that stuff.
She's older than 13, so we should be okay.
Yeah. Well, that's. I try and play in that area just to stay out of jail. So
yeah.
Over 50, you're saying good looking. Count me in.
Yeah.
But not like Mr. Magic Tricks.
Yeah. Oh.
He's got.
Have you seen the Borderlands movie?
Yeah, he's got a movie out. Are we allowed to name him? No. Anyway, so well, see, I'm curious because all the reviews have been so negative about it.
I think it's the one time that the critics and the fans are united on how bad the movie is.
You don't see that very often.
No.
Because with the Deadpool Wolverine movie, some of the critics were saying that wasn't funny.
Oh, my God.
So what the hell are they on?
Remember when the Irish used to have a sense of humour? The first one that went up was this Irish guy going, like, oh, if you're into that, it's just very puerile and you can't get past the fart jokes. I'm like, you went to a Deadpool movie. Like, shut the fuck up, idiot. Like,
yeah, but Ryan Reynolds has a formula that's really good because he can do a little bit of an emotional hook in things.
Yeah.
So he's got that really outrageous and almost disgusting humour. It is very juvenile, right? But he also manages in his movies. You look at the other stuff he's done, like Adam Project and that. He throws in. He can do a little bit of emotional hook quite effectively.
But even Deadpool has gravitas. You know what I mean? Like even if the stakes are invented, you still feel his. I need you to be a hero right now. Like all the themes make sense. You know what I mean? Like and. Like, I don't know. I feel like I hate the idea, turn your brain off and just enjoy it. But I feel like if you sit there and it's like when people go, but like canon's important, but it's not so important to go like, well, actually, if they didn't, like, shut the fuck up, nerd. Like, no one cares. Like, actually, no one cares.
No,
like,
it depends if you're trying to or not.
Correct.
If you're trying to be a masterful piece of cinema and you fail,
I will say that. Yeah. That's different. But like, but when you're like, we're just making a fun movie, like an R-rated comedy made $1 billion again. You know what I mean?
It's like if you're trying to break dance, right?
Yeah.
If you sorry,
no, that's. I mean, look. Let's cover the news of the day. It is News Game Plus. My first reaction to it was, and maybe this is the poor in me. I think this is the poor in where I grew up in me. This reasonably middle upper white woman is doing these moves on this like. If you were to do like it reminds me of like of a fucking Ryan Reynolds movie. It's like, we don't know how to break dance, and he just shows up. It's like, you're from Australia, do Australian breakdance moves. I'm a kangaroo. It's like, it just feels like that, and I feel like her just coming along going, oh, the urban landscape is not appropriate. I'm going to come in and do this urban style dancing, and because you can't say the word, but like it just felt so bizarre. It was so bizarre to me.
It was interpretive dance, but
it was.
I mean, apparently she's good at it, but she wasn't that day. So.
Yeah. It's like I don't mind if theatre kids ruin everything, but I mean, you should let the poor dark kids have what they can get. You know, like I don't know.
I don't know why breakdance was in the Olympics. They said it was to attract young people, and you go, well, that's good if it was 40 years ago.
Well, but the French are like that though. Hey, like the French are big on what America found cool thing. Now it's kitsch. Now it's retro. Now it's cool. You know,
So,
like
if we're going to do retro events at the Olympics, that'll be cool. But,
yeah.
No,
Bring out the lions. Like,
she be mean to her. She got there. Apparently, she's won a bunch of other comps, but that was funny.
Wasn't her husband the person judging? So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She still got zeros. So
Yeah.
they're going to have a good chat after they get home. But how do we get on that one? Okay, back to the Borderlands movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've seen all the memes of that, and I won't try and recount them, but some of the memes have just been wild, and I've enjoyed them a lot. But so the Borderlands movie, I'm actually interested to see it because I've got to say, the Borderlands movie, the preview looked
shit.
Garbage,
awful.
No,
dreadful.
it looked suitable.
Shit.
I thought it looked suitable because in the Fallout TV series, right, they nailed the aesthetic.
Yes.
So it looked like
I
Fallout.
think they nailed the tone as well, to be honest. I think that's more than anything.
That's probably what they didn't nail in Borderlands. But the Borderlands preview looked like
Borderlands story and world has always been, even by my standards, crass and lame. Like, it's always been such a try-hardy. Like, I hated Tiny Tina. I hated all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, this sucks.
Look, if the movie's crap, at least the thing it'll have going for it is it'll finally be a very accurate game to movie adaptation. Because I didn't like the game.
I can agree on.
I didn't like the game much.
Never have.
But I'm going to give it a shot. But I'm not going to pay to go see it at the movies. But I'll give it a watch. I'm curious.
Apparently, they started filming Last of Us, and they started filming the good one, Twisted Metal. Metal Season 2 was really good. Season 1 was really good, so Season 2 I'm looking forward to.
Just quickly before Last of Us, I actually think their big mistake with Borderlands is not doing it streaming. I think on a movie like that with what would be a niche market, putting in the movies is too much of a risk.
It's not going to draw like... Well, if you can put Mario movie at the cinemas, Mario's going to draw.
And the Sonic movie as well.
Sonic movie. And Sonic 3, people will be keen for Sonic 3, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that will draw.
It's got Shadow. Oh, the best Sonic.
Borderlands, though. Like, what's the draw of Borderlands?
Yeah, so it really is. It's a streaming movie, and it shouldn't have gone to a movie. What were you saying? Oh, yeah, okay, Last of Us. Last of Us 2, if it started... Because Last of Us 1 was great, except I thought the ending was rushed, and that kissing scene with the zombie was freaking weird, right?
Yeah, it was weird. That is. I'm glad we both called that out. I'm glad that you don't have
just
your
didn't
brain
belong.
Isn't completely rotted. So yeah, we'll have to coo you.
We're talking movies.
We'll have to coo you and put you in the White House basement.
Let me out. I still want to be president.
Yeah.
I'd say, what was it still meant?
The weird kiss in Last of Us.
He's my favourite president because he's sleepy like me. Now, the weird kiss. Last of Us 2, though, I think anybody who's not familiar with the games and really enjoyed the first series and thought, man, that Joel character is really cool, they're in for a shock. Well, they're not going to enjoy. Sure. They're not going to enjoy episode 1.
Yeah, and I think it will be interesting to see how they do it because I think he'll have to you can get away with probably 2 episodes. The first episode is them at Jackson. Second episode is Ellie going to find him, and then third episode is her taking off after she gets held down, right? Basically, so it's gonna be interesting. I still feel like have you seen the chick who's playing Abby? She was in Justified. She was really good in Justified. And I feel like she would have been a perfect Ellie, and apparently she tried out for Ellie, and then Bella Ramsey got it. And I think Bella Ramsey's done a good job, but I still don't.
She didn't look like Ellie though.
I don't think it was good casting. But is that my fault for having that preconceived what she looks like in her head? Like she looks,
Yeah, Pedro Pascal didn't really look like Joel.
Enough,
but he looked enough. Yeah.
But Bella Ramsey had, and this is sound awful, but she had a big pom face. You know what I mean? Like she has a pommy face. Like
it did look different, but then I didn't.
That's one thing.
Didn't bother me.
No, she did a great job, and that's the hard part for me. I still think it was bad casting, but I think she's done such a good job acting with it that it doesn't matter now. But I sit there and look.
She's not in the next one, is she?
Bella Ramsey.
Yeah,
she has to be.
Oh, okay. I thought.
Have you not played the second game?
No. I mean the second TV show.
You can't see why she wouldn't be.
Okay. No.
She's the main character of the second game. Well, one of the main characters.
I must have read something on the internet, and the internet never lies. So
no, that's true. That is true.
Could be. Yeah, cool. No, look, I'm interested to see Last of Us 2. Yeah. That'd be good. Twisted Metal I still haven't watched. So
Twisted Metal's great. Well, yeah, it's on it's on Paramount or something, isn't it?
Something nobody in Australia has. Yeah. So it's.
I can get you the files. It's fine.
Yeah. Yes. Legally, of course.
Well, I got you the Fallout files legally, didn't I?
Now, actually, I got some good news about TV stuff. Just to keep moving. Halo TV show got cancelled.
I did say
Oh, well,
that.
not cancelled. They're shopping it around. So Paramount had that one too, didn't they? So they're not showing it anymore. But Microsoft and 343 apparently still want to shop it around to another streaming service. So
I think the only way it works is if you completely burn the first 2 seasons to the ground and like burn them to a crisp, and no one ever thinks of them again. Like
the only way it works is to do what Last of Us did and just follow the plot of one of the games, because you do OST really well in a multi-episode series, I reckon, because it's different people.
ODST would have absolutely worked. And
would have nailed it.
Yeah.
Reach was a good. We used to pick on it back in the when we used to hang around the good game page days, and we used to pick on Reach. But Reach is a really good story. Yeah. Really, and well,
it's simple enough, follow enough beats. It has the desperation, it has the gravitas, it has all that. It's fine. Like
yeah. Well, it could have almost justified if they hadn't ruined it with a TV show. I reckon Halo could have justified a movie with its theatre release. There would be enough people that still remember it fondly.
First game, you could have just done first game and cut down a bit of the faff in the middle. You know what I mean? Like just had a couple of cool fight scenes. Have the Pillar of Autumn crash. Have the finding of the keys. Have the introduction to it, because it's enough of a self-contained story. The Halo 1 is enough of a self-contained story that if you made a second one, you make a second one, but if you don't, you can just...
well, the second one will be like the Return, the Two Towers version of it, where you basically lead into the third.
And you could have had an after-credit scene that was like the Arbiter, starting up a blade or something, and Keith David saying, well, we'll find it.
Yeah, I think there would have been a market for it, although now they probably burnt a lot of goodwill. But I think
Microsoft, I think more and more we're seeing, and I'm sure this is something you're going to bring up later, more and more we're seeing, like, I think Phil's downfall was the Activision buy, and I feel like he had pressure for the Activision buy, and I feel like it was every other studio he bought made sense. Buying Bethesda made sense. Buying these smaller ones made sense. Buying Activision for the money that they paid for it, like, just for COD, like, is it really going to make him that much money? Maybe it will, but I don't know, man. Like, I just don't...
Well, remember when, they bought the big ones. There have been a lot of buyouts. I'll get to them soon. But the big one that everybody heard about was the Minecraft purchase, and that was $2 billion, or over $2 billion just for one game. I don't think they would have made that back yet on Minecraft.
Maybe
$2 billion.
With servers and stuff, like, there's a lot of people playing Minecraft. Like,
it's a lot of money. But I was going to get a bit more on that later, because I want to have a good talk about that.
They're selling like the texture packs and stuff now, aren't they?
So, they're not texture packs. They're like gameplay. How would you describe them?
Modifiers.
Yeah. So what they do is they modify effectively core gameplay. So a lot of the things I've talked about with my son is like it'd be really cool if they're like birds in the sky and stuff. And there's some now that add that. So what they've done now is they're kind of like you can write an entire. It's like you got full access to the underlying game engine. You can just write something on top of it.
So you can seed your own worlds, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you can add your own animations, your own mobs, your own rules and stuff like that. So I don't think it's been appreciated enough yet as far as the scale of the modding that's going to be available. Because Minecraft on Java is still alive because of all the mods. But the
that's the OG. That's the original kind of format.
Not still. I'm underplaying that a little bit. Minecraft Java, because you mod it, is massively successful. It's probably a better way to put it. But the level of modding that they've just added to Bedrock it's sort of like went a little bit under the radar. It didn't have a lot of fanfare, but geez, it's massive.
Well, I only heard about it when I was in Japan, and I was talking to people at Bit Summit, and we were talking about Minecraft. And they're like, Minecraft's been going hard lately. I said, I remember them announcing things, and then I just never heard of them coming out. They said, they kind of like stealth launched them, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
well, I was wondering what they're doing, because they've got like 600 programmers, and they added a camel. What they were doing was really lame, but to be able to add the level of modifying they've added so that people can do it. Although I still think it's a little bit lazy because they're letting other people now effectively make their own sort of Minecraft games. It would have been better if Mojang did it, because you're going to now get this splintering that happens. And it's a little bit happens on Java with the Fabric and the Forge people, where they're not compatible, and even between different releases, all the mods aren't compatible. So you have to, if you want to start the game, you have to go clear your mod directory.
Well,
and put new ones on.
That's also the Dota problem. So Dota 2, they allow basically people to make games using the Dota 2 engine. And so if you're making the game with the Dota 2 engine, so Valve have, say, 4 or 5 arcade modes, they call them, that they maintain, so Overthrow and a few others that are like spin-offs of the gameplay, and they maintain those. But there's a lot of random games, like there's people who play like a soccer game and stuff like this that is tied to a banjo ball, and a bunch of these random kind of mods. That as soon as you upgrade as soon as Dota releases a new patch, all the things don't work. So they've got to configure it across, and then some things can be completely removed from the game. So certain mechanics or whatever are taken out of the game. Your mods are dead as well. But
it's a bit like WordPress plugins. You have to hope the person made the mod has upgraded new version. Look, I found that when I was running Minecraft servers for my son and his friends for a long time, especially through COVID, just as little Docker containers sort of things. And what we would have is there'd be Fabric and Forge, and then obviously the mods are all incompatible with each other. But also if they upgraded the version of Fabric or Forge to another one, all the previous mods inside the same system would also not work. So so then you had to, if you wanted to make a new world, you then had to, or if you wanted to change it, you had to then go and find all those old mods you were using, a new version that worked on the new version, say, of Fabric. And it was just absurd to keep that running. Now, I spent a bit of time doing it because obviously they'd spent 2 years sitting at home mucking around. But it is a maintenance sort of thing. It's really hard. Now, Bedrock's doing it now. Probably it's going to be a little bit better because Minecraft, I think, is pretty obvious. They don't really care about Java. Minecraft, Mojang would rather only have Bedrock. The packs they're releasing now, they're all paid, so Microsoft will be taking a cut of that, so they'll probably promote that pretty heavily eventually. But at the moment, I got to say, what they've done looks very impressive, and I was wondering for a couple of years what the hell the programmers at Mojang were doing. There's a lot of memes, like people lying on the ground, like sleeping, and it said, Mojang programmers after working for half an hour sort of thing. And they did look a little bit like that, but what the changes they made to Minecraft Bedrock look pretty significant.
Well, we got here from Halo TV, by the way.
We did, actually. Okay, well, let's okay, I got two more. Let's quickly
do a couple of small ones and do a big one after that.
I don't have another small. Okay, I've kind of a big one. Let's ramp it up. So I'll start with talking buyouts. There was talk of. Is that what we want to do first?
Well, Tango just got bought by Krafton, who are the guys who publish PUBG. I've just bought Tango, who do Hi-Fi Rush, Evil Within. They were a former Bethesda developer. So they basically bought them off because they just had the big layoffs, a bunch of layoffs and stuff.
There's always layoffs. Okay. Well, there's been a rumor floating around. I don't know how true it is that Microsoft were preparing a buyout offer for Valve of $16 billion. Which is a little. Now I just talked about Minecraft was $2 billion on its own. Now Minecraft's a significant game, but $16 billion because Valve's basically the PC gaming sort of platform. $16 billion is a little bit insulting.
I would be like, did you miss a 0 or a 1? Do you know what I mean?
A couple of because look, Activision was 75.4. These are US dollars, billion dollars. So it's like 100 and something billion Australian. I would have thought $16 billion for Valve is a little bit insulting. It's a lot of money for Gabe. I'm sure Gabe won't. He's already got billions of dollars. He don't need the money, so he wouldn't sell because he's short of cash.
And I mean, it's a privately owned company too. Valve's revenue in 2021 reached $13 billion.
So that per year?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like when the government sold Commonwealth Bank here for $8 billion and now it makes $9 billion a year and complains. So it's like, but they're a little bit of a lowball offer. But let's take it as a segue into buyouts. Because one of the big stories that actually happened since when you were in Japan was the Bungie CEO, what was his name, Pete Parsons?
Mate, Pete Parsons, that's it.
They sacked a bunch of people. And
the GT3 Porsche driving $2.6 million he spent on cars. Was it $2.6 million?
Yeah, something like $2.something million. They sacked a bunch of people, 17% of the workforce, and he was showing off, apparently to the people he sacked, which is really good form, his car collection. And which started a lot of fuss, and there's been some really good gym acquisition stuff. He's Stephanie now, isn't he? So
it's Jim's. It's a thing.
It's a thing. Okay,
Jim or Stephanie's fine.
I don't understand. I just turned it on one day and it changed, and I'm like, that's the world now.
Either way, Jim/Stephanie has always been one of the very few people in the business I've respected.
It's the same person, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Look, I'm almost a boomer, but it's a new world.
Yeah,
That's different people
I mean,
like different
again,
things.
I've never found anyone in that situation to be unreasonable as long as you try and understand.
I like the Jimquisition stuff, right?
Yes.
And he's doing a lot of stuff at the moment because when they do stuff like the woke jaw controversy, that's garbage. But the stuff about the state of the industry, I think, is really good info. Now, so it got me thinking because this guy with his $2 million worth of cars, right?
And that's all just only the transactions he's done through this one particular broker, by the way.
Yeah. So anyway, and there's been a lot of sales. Minecraft got sold. Microsoft bought Activision for $75.4 billion. So it got me thinking, like, everybody talks about capitalism and talks about why it's bad, right? And the changes in the gaming industry. But the reason why it's happening, and if you go back, I went back a bunch of sales, and if you go back since 2000, there have been 22 mergers and acquisitions valued at over $1 billion, or just since 2014.
Yes.
So in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, there have been 22 game companies bought other game companies at a value higher than $1 billion. And some have been $75 billion. There's Activision bought Vivendi, that was 2008, that was a bit earlier. But so Take-Two bought Zynga for $12.7 billion. So it's a lot of farms. And since 2000, there's been 54 purchases of game developers valued at over 100 million.
Right.
So this century, what you've been seeing is you're seeing a lot of game companies buy other game companies. Now we see that news and we go, that's really interesting. Like so they're buying this. I think some have overpaid. I think the Activision purchase, that's a lot of money for Starfield just to keep it off PlayStation 5.
Well, that was $7 billion. Was it $6.9 billion or something?
$75.4 billion.
No, that's Activision. If you're talking Starfield is Bethesda. That's ZeniMax.
8.1 billion. Sorry, I had that mistake. Cool.
I said 7.9. I was close.
You're probably more correct because you're the maths maths person.
It's not maths. It's just knowing a number.
Okay, Activision bought King for $5. Anyway, so there's been all these sales, and they're really big numbers. But a lot of people probably don't think further about what does that actually mean. Yeah. Now, when Microsoft bought Minecraft, they paid Notch $2 billion or 2 point something billion dollars. 2.5 billion.
And that was his. He was himself.
This is where I was going to go with this. So when you purchase a company, the money doesn't go into that company's bank accounts. No. The money goes to the owners.
You're buying the shares.
Yeah, and to the shareholders. Now Notch did really well. He got all that money himself, or most of it. Now, some would have gone. The other guys developing with it, there would have been a lot to taxes and so on. But he did pretty well, right?
Yeah.
But the money goes into shareholders. But when you get a sale like an Activision or something, that money goes to the owners. And Bobby Kotick alone got a $390 million bonus for that sale. And again, that's a lot of money. And what does it mean? The average video game developer salary in the US is $116,000,
which is a lot more than here
per year. It's about $75,000 here.
USD or AUD?
75 AU and 116 US.
Yeah. So basically 150. It's basically double.
It's about half here because they get bonuses and stuff as well. And that's because, unfortunately, we had a government for 10 years that didn't believe anything was worth any money if it didn't come out of the ground. So unless we could dig up video games, they weren't putting anything into it. So we do need to fund our video game industry more. But the fact is, $116,000 is what it costs for a video game to pay a video game developer for 1 year. Now, when you got a sale like, let's go with Bobby Kotick's bonus. Yeah. Bobby Kotick's bonus was actually worth 3,362 developers years. Now, the Activision sale, when Microsoft bought Activision, $75.4 billion. That's around 650,000 years of developer salary. And that money is going out of the industry and into shareholders. Now, the shareholders are happy. They've run off. That could be
the venture funds, whoever it is.
And this is why you're seeing Embracer Group and people like that take an interest and come in, because they can see they can flip this stuff. And Embracer Group was trying to flip a whole heap of stuff.
Embracer even when they got caught out, they've still made money. Like some of the prices they paid for some of these things, they got such a good deal. It was like 250 million or something like that for like Tomb Raider and a bunch of.
Well, they own Gearbox, so they own that movie we were talking about.
Yeah,
so maybe
right.
they don't have much, but yeah. So all that. So they're flipping these things. So they've the business, the real bad.
I wouldn't be surprised
business.
if you see Strauss put the offer in for Gearbox soon.
Strauss.
Zelnick, Take Two.
Okay, cool. Take Two is in one of these. They bought Zynga. They got a bit of money.
Yeah.
12 Anyway, so the point is, all this money. So you got basically hundreds of billions of dollars since the turn of the century, has basically gone from the end.
I mean, you're right, but Lamau.
I know there might be
25 years ago, my friend.
Okay, well, it's a lot of money. So you've seen video games, the quality and the predatory practices change dramatically, especially in the last 10 years. And that's as these sales have ramped up and become larger, because the largest sales have been the last 10 years.
Yeah.
The largest. And each one of them takes thousands and thousands of developer years of money out of the industry and into shareholder pockets. And that's why people are being sacked, because then they turn around, they say, well, we need to make more money. Now, we talked in the podcast a few weeks back about how they were trying to put things like Assassin's Creed on iPhone. They made $100,000 out of it, right? Yeah. So they're trying all these Hail Marys to do it. They want to do the next big live service game. They want to be the next Fortnite, which is amusing because Fortnite didn't start as Fortnite. It started
Fortnite Save the World, wasn't it?
It was a tower defense game.
Yeah.
I remember I played that with my son like years and years ago.
Then it became a battle royale as a reaction to PUBG.
It was almost an accident how it happened.
And that's why the shooting's so dog shit, because it's not designed for that. It's designed for PvE.
It was an accidental thing. So when you go and plan it and you're trying to reproduce something that didn't happen organically, like you're going, well, it wasn't planned. It just happened organically. Like you can't bottle that lightning again normally. No. So they're all trying to do these things because not only is that money gone, they want to make it back. So if you paid $75 billion for Activision, you want to make more than that back, right? Yeah. That's a lot of money. So that money's gone into shareholders, and one of the ways businesses do that is they say, well, let's sack a few people because that's how we can quickly get the numbers up, and my shares in my portfolio go up, and then I can hopefully piss off with it.
And the shareholders will insist that it beats inflation, but the only reason inflation is so high is because company profits are so high. So you want to talk about what's fueling inflation. Increasing these company profits is what's fueling inflation.
And in the video game industry, not only have we lost, like I said, it's like millions of developer years of money have gone out of the industry into shareholders, but then they want those millions back, millions of developer year salaries back, but they don't want to pay developers to do it. They want it to come from gamers, and the gamers, they want to turn the big effort at the moment is effectively trying to turn the whole industry into effectively online gambling to try and do underage gambling and get kids in, because the people that have come in and seen that, your Embracer groups and stuff like that, they come in and all they see is like a line of poker machines with people sinking money into. They go, because it's almost 10 years since Leah Alexander's famous thing about gamers are dead, and she complained about the gamer identity, the wailing hyper-consumers. The thing is, what's happening now is your Embracer group and that come in, they want those. They're desperate for wailing hyper-consumers, and they'll do anything to try and turn people into it. The moment the translation rate into whale is to about 2%, they'd like that to be much higher.
And we see that as well, even in when we bring new cultures into video gaming. So places like China and stuff, where for years video gaming was like either regulated or blocked or whatever the case may be, right? They don't have that background with games that us, the Japanese, the Americans, whomever have, because they just don't have that connection with games as a storytelling medium. Like it's so when these games came out and they were spend up and get the gold icon, we talk about the Western ideal of wealth as a marker of success. I mean, it's even more so in China. I mean, everything's gilded for a reason, and so it taps into that core cultural belief that spending money makes you better. B, you don't have a tie, like, whereas we go, we want a game with a story. They're like, oh, we have to put a story into our gambling machine, right? It's more energy and efforts. That's why they try and tap these new markets. Plus, also the breadth of consumers. 2% of the Chinese population, gaming population, being whales, is going to be worth more to you than 100% of the Australian population being gaming whales. You know
They're,
what I mean?
they're being held back a bit though by there's a Chinese culture
Yeah.
department or something that has to approve online
Yeah.
games, and they've put restrictions on online games. So they're being held back from this free fall. I think the Chinese government quite intelligently has gone, no, if we just let
Yes.
these American companies in, they're just going to
Basically
take as
siphon the
much as
money
they
out.
can.
Yeah.
So and they still spend like, I think it was $1.6 billion a year on costumes for characters, right?
I believe it.
But they're desperate for that market. They'd love like someone like India to be that developed, so they can just
You've got to remember Genshin.
Savage them as well.
Genshin is Chinese. Genshin, Honkai, Star Rail, and didn't they just Miyoho bought into a hydroelectric plant?
They've been investing in clean nuclear energy and stuff as well. So and they do a
Yeah.
lot of medical research investing as well.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. It'd be nice to
It
hear
has a
that.
tokamak nuclear fusion reactor. There you go.
I think everybody would feel a hell of a lot better if Embracer Group said, "Oh, look, we let all these people."
We bought Tomb Raider, but by the way, here's clean energy.
Or we've donated literally billions of dollars to cancer research or something like that. Of course, that's not the American business way. No. It's a very different one. But anyway, so there's a lot of money just been disappearing out of the industry, and we talk about capitalism and why it's bad. But this American capitalism thing of all that money has gone straight into shareholder hands, and that is directly translated to years of developer pay that has been taken out of the industry since 2000, and it is like millions of years of money of developer time,
and then of course,
and then they want it back, but they don't want to pay developers to get it back. So the developers have been screwed over twice.
And that of course has. I mean, look, and we're not so naive as to think like, it's what do they call it? Like the pregnancy problem. Like you can't create a baby by putting
the mythical man month, famous programmer book, which apparently young programmers I've heard on the internet don't even know about. They've just discovered as a concept.
And so obviously some of these problems can't be solved by throwing developers at it if you have a bad business model or you have a bad a game that flops or whatever. Like there are obviously these things, but you can't throw out there that you've had a record profit and then lay off 10,000 people and have people be happy. If times are tough and you've got it bad, then it's okay. I think it's okay then to go.
But they're laying off the people because of the purchases.
Yeah, exactly. It's forcing their hand because they have to be seen. Like, Tango Softworks releases Hi-Fi Rush. Doesn't do well on thing because they flubbed the launch, but whatever. It's one of the few games they're bringing across to PlayStation. And they flubbed the launch, blah, blah, blah. So they fire people at Tango. It's like, but it's not their fault. It's still a good creative new game, but it was just badly handled, and it's not the kind of game that you tentpole anyway, but you need those undercurrent games to fill up stuff like Game Pass. You need Game Pass filler games, and that in itself has a value because it adds to the value of Game Pass. So people go, oh, hey, I want to play that Hi-Fi Rush game. I'll rent Gamecast for a month, and that's a conversion that you didn't have before.
There's a general entertainment industry problem now with the sleeper hit.
Yes.
Like in movie terms, you talk about a Shawshank Redemption that didn't do well in movies, but became one of the most loved movies of all time.
Well, that's that, and in the movies world, it used to be DVDs. That's why Family Guy still exists, because if it wasn't for DVDs and Adult Swim, Family Guy would have been gone years ago.
So the industry
Futurama,
now,
another example.
Yeah, you can't have a sleeper hit. I thought it was interesting that guy that suggested it was from, I can't remember the company, he suggested if you like a game, you should be able to tip the developers. And aside from the fact that tipping cultures rank, you should pay the developers in the first place.
Yes.
But how do you tip them? How do you tip a developer if they've been sacked?
So this is the thing. It works in the indie game space, right? So I played Punch Quest. Punch Quest was a game on the phone that I still enjoy. I'll break out occasionally and play badly. But one of the microtransactions you could buy was $1.49 tip to the developer, right? So he's only getting $1 of it. But I think I got it for free, or it was like $3 to begin with. But I'm happy. I got my $4 worth. I'm happy to give him another $1.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but if you're talking to anyone that's for a big publisher, I mean,
exactly.
because I've often thought about the music model, right? So if you and I think early days of places like Bungie and that, they started like a band started. Yeah. So you had a bunch of people who were good at different things, and they just started to get bigger and bigger, right? In the music space, and there's bad aspects of this too with the Record Industry Association. But if you write a song or release a hit, right, especially write it, you can get residuals for it. So when it's played on the radio, you'll get a bit of money, and when it's sold, you'll get a bit. Although the policing of that can be a little bit, they're taking a big cut, but I suppose that motivates them.
Let's not talk about
APRA, but I mean, maybe, I don't know how you do it, but maybe if you're a video game dev and you work on, say, I can't think of it again off the top of my head, but say, what was that, Hi-Fi Rush, right? Yeah. Now, if Hi-Fi Rush becomes a sleeper hit and suddenly goes gangbusters, or suddenly there's money. Now, you're a laid off developer. You don't see any of that ever, right? So maybe there needs to be somebody, and this is where we talk about the overall thing of unionising that requirement. But then APRA's, I don't know exactly how it works, but somebody that says, okay, now that game's a hit, there needs to be a percentage go back to
basically
the original developer.
You either pay for a license, radio, for example. Radio pays for a license, and that license covers them for all the songs that they play throughout the time, right? And then of that pool, they figure out how much has been played of each song, and they go, cool, AC/DC is owed this many thousands of dollars. Blah, blah, is owed this many thousands of dollars. So they're also the ones that follow up if you do it on, ads or whatever the case may be. So let's say your ad and you're using an Australian song, you would pay APRA, and APRA would administer that deal for you, or they would follow that money up.
Well, I knew a guy that played a cover band in Melbourne years ago when I used to work with him, and he said they used to have to go through all their songs they played as a cover band, and they used to have to tell APRA what it was and pay for it.
Yeah, and so those mechanisms are in place nowadays. We live in such a stolen culture world anyway that it's not really the same thing. Yeah, Facebook's $2 billion music deal. The record industry were happy with that, so they shut their mouths. So yeah,
but it's no use tipping a developer or even buying DLC of microtransactions if they've been laid off.
Yeah,
and they're
disconnected. It only works.
Money.
Punch Quest was one guy. You know what I mean? He made that. It was two people, one person, something like that. And in that situation, it's a different conversation. But so I mean, Helldivers is a good example of that. I love Helldivers. It was worth my $60. I still think it's Game of the Year, despite all the bullshit that Sony pulled with the account things. But when it comes time to buy the next war bond, I usually earn enough credits just by playing the game to have the next war bond ready to go.
But a lot of games now are taking that out, aren't they?
Well, and so it's definitely gone a bit stingier, but you can still do it. Like I hadn't played it for 4 weeks, and I've earned 60 credits since, and I've only got you've got to earn 1,000 credits to get the next pass. You've got to earn 100 lots of individual credits. But since I've been back playing it for less than a week, I've already got 8. You know what I mean? So, and I've only been playing a couple hours each time. Yeah. So if I play like I was previously 20, 30 hours a week, then it becomes probably enough to, I had enough for the 2 battle passes.
I'm going to guess that's why my son hasn't been hassling me for
any money. You don't need it. No, you don't need it. I keep seeing him pop up online. I'm like, fuck.
You should message him and say, get back to your homework.
I should message him and say, yo, I'll jump in.
Your dad said homework.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's in year 12, isn't he? Yeah, okay.
He's in year 12. It's important. You can piss right around next year.
Don't make the Jason mistake. Yeah. That was my... Because I told you, didn't I? My grade average was A-, probably like 85, 90%. And then exam week rolls around and it was... Vice City and Halo 2 came out the same week. Same 2 weeks of the exams.
Yeah, so you'd just come off a few years early, almost dying.
So I don't give a fuck as it is, right? Yeah.
So your whole high school experience was pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Yeah. So anyway, the moral story is, I think you're right. Like, tip a developer and those sort of things. VLC, I've always VLC, I've tipped the money. Handbrake,
I do hate tipping culture generally.
I agree,
it's such an American way of not paying people.
Yes, but if you have these collectives like a VLC, I've donated to Wiki because I'm a loser, so it's like it's these things of, if you've provided this free service to me and I've found use for it, then I will gladly tip you. But like you said, when you're a company doing it for free. Like when you're this giant conglomerate, it's a free game. I'm like, okay, then how are you making your money? Because if it's not off me, who's it off?
Well, we've talked before about how they need to unionise, and you're a big fan of that, just generally in any area. I think the hook to go to developers, because I'm a programmer, right? And I saw my whole industry get outsourced, and we're all libertarians by nature.
Because IT professional.
And so we basically, and there was the Australian Computer Society that claimed it was a union, so we didn't have to make one. And we just saw the whole industry get wrecked, right? Yeah. Now, developers, video game developers are programmers, so they're going to be
Yeah.
similar. So they're going to be hard to unionise. I think your design community will be easier because they're different mindset. And
Yeah.
I don't mean that in any way
Yeah,
disrespectful or
yeah, yeah.
insulting. It's just what programmers are. But I think the hook, and I'm going to say this to anybody that does want to make union, the hook should be that as part of that, because I can't think of anybody else who you'd trust to do it,
Yeah.
is a system of making sure that if you work on a game, then
There's
you
residuals.
get
Yeah.
residuals for that. And if it's re-released down the track, so we don't have this situation where a game gets sold to a new company and that company takes all the money.
This kind of goes back to, you remember that conversation around Bayonetta's voice when they changed Bayonetta's voice from that chick to Jennifer Hale? Nobody liked that chick because she was a Trumpy and
Who's Jennifer Hale?
the female voice of Shepard in Mass Effect.
Well, okay.
Probably the same, you know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool.
And so
Femshep, yeah.
Femshep, yeah. And so when they did that, and her thing was they were only paying me $2,000, or it was like 2,000, maybe it was even 10,000. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but she was like, but I wanted ongoings and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
residuals. Yeah.
And I said, I was one of the ones I was like, okay, makes sense to me. And I was like, but she got paid the amount that she got paid, and then she complained about it. And I'm like, yeah, but like, okay, no ethical consumption under capitalism. Aren't you the same people, like all these devs and fucking game people who claim to be lefties? And they're like, well, she got paid the money by the giant mega corporation Nintendo.
No,
you know, it's like, yeah.
I think the way out of what's happening now is a residual type system, especially Game Pass, where your game, you can be sacked and your game's still there forever,
Yeah.
being played. And I think that should be the hook for if the industry needs to unionise. I reckon that's the hook.
My only concern with that would, of course, be Hollywood accounting. You know what I mean? Like, are we talking gross
yeah.
profits or
Yeah, look, the music industry and the movie industry, look, the reason they do that stuff is because they take the lion's share anyway, and they do good. But I just think that, you know, the two issues that I've been thinking about a lot, and I just think they kind of combine in a way, and I think that's the way to do it. Now, it's going to take a fair bit of effort to set up, but there needs to be a way so that, yeah, if you work on like a Hi-Fi Rush and then you get sacked, and so Hi-Fi Rush might sit on Game Pass now forever, and so that's going to get paid. So the share of what would come from subs paying to that's going to go just straight to Microsoft. They're effectively stealing it from the developer.
I think that is one thing that a lot of the smaller Japanese devs have a really good way of doing. Like they will get these communities on board with, whether it's commissioned art pieces or existing things. So Sieg is very good at it, right? Where they'll have like collaborations and they'll have all this kind of cool, like, how do we remain in the zeitgeist? And I want to support this guy and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And so, yeah, a lot of the Japanese smaller dev companies are very good at that, where they're good at making other ways to connect to community to continue those revenue streams outside of the game itself. And then obviously Japan appreciates art more, and then, you know, you're still buying DVDs is a thing, and, you know, DVD rental libraries are a thing. Sutai still exists, Geo still exists.
They have a far better attitude, from what it seems. As a person who visited, they have a far better attitude towards creative than we do.
They can be a little bit restrictive, and that does come through in a lot of ways where it's like, any use whatsoever is written off, but at the same time, they are also tend to be more open to collaborations and that kind of thing. And they do turn a blind eye to fan art in a big way, where it's like, and I mean, to be fair, Stray does that as well, where it's like, you go to a convention, some artist alley guy who's been drawing a picture, you can buy that off him, and Nintendo doesn't send the ninjas down, because it's still your artwork, and you're just inspired by their characters, and they take that in. But I mean, like, in the West, I mean, that's, you know, the second you kind of do any derivative work, it's, you know, yeah.
Well, I think that's.
And then the third prong before we go, because we are running out of time.
Yeah,
it's going to be what AI does. You know what I mean? Like what the impact of AI is going to be. And I think AI, everyone has learned, is actually just random.
It's parlor tricks.
It's parlor tricks at the moment, for sure.
It's parlor tricks, and it's basically everything that's an algorithm is called AI. Now there's scope for it to do things, and I think the NPC conversations is a very interesting area. That can flesh out a world. Like if you're playing like Oblivion or Skyrim and the NPCs are AI generating text, I think that could be really cool. But I think most of the promises now, it's tricks and it's stuff that is just an algorithm, and
it's Theranos very much, to pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
It's there. I mean, I talked about all the money that went out of the game industry, the money going out of investors in the tech industry. They're being robbed right now. AI will be used for robot dogs to murder civilians in war. It'll be used for drones to target civilians in war, identify who they are, and it'll be used to lay people off and make customer service worse. But it's not intelligence in any way. I won't go into it here, but I could go on for ages. It's not intelligence. It's not how we work, and it's never going to go from where it is now to intelligence.
Yes.
The reason I say that, I can save for another podcast because it'll go for a while, but the way it currently does it is a trick, and that is not going to translate to
any meaningful outcomes outside of the usuals, murdering and cutting costs.
Look, it's just not. It's not a thing. But I do think in video games, I think the prospect of having a chat with an NPC that may or may not appear like an NPC, I think that's actually really interesting.
I agree.
But I think AI generally is a scam at the moment, and people are going to argue with me about it, and I'm happy to have that argument. I'll talk about it in another podcast.
Stop.
And your thing's beeping right now, so we're probably, but we're probably done. Anyway, look, I just want to cover that. The amount of money that's gone out of the gaming industry into shareholders' pockets is in the hundreds of billions of dollars since the turn of the century, and I know that's for some people that went away.
That's funny,
but that is millions of years of developer pay.
I remember the 1900s.
Just gone. Now, if that big buying spree didn't happen, there'd be a lot of money left to pay developers, and that's why we ended up in the situation we are now, and that's why also the bad practices came in.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's it. Thank you very much. Good to be back. Back in the saddle. We'll have a few more weeks of this, and then
you're back in Australia. When are you leaving?
Back in Japan for TGS. So I'll be back over there for TGS. I bought a new camera and stuff to do some cool content, and hopefully we can get that up. Jack is back in the content creation saddle. He's hit the same point as me, so we're back to making a 6-episode series coming up.
Oh, good. He's an absolute star. He deserves to do lots and lots of that stuff.
100% agree.
Deserves to do really well.
Yes, very much. I agree.
Absolute star.
And don't forget as well, if you are in the Melbourne area on the 24th, we have our upcoming Glitch event. It's anime themed. There's a Dragon Ball FighterZ tournament. There's chance to win tickets to the upcoming Miku concert as well. So
my daughter saw that, but she said the tickets were sold out in like 2 minutes.
She can come to Glitch and potentially win. So
she might actually. When's the Glitch?
24th of August.
24th of August.
We can Mr. Beast it. She can just
allegedly. Wait. Which we didn't talk about Mr. Beast. I hope we're talking about the.
No, they're giving prizes to people. The allegations of giving prizes to people. Not the other one. Not the other one. No.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even get to that in the podcast, but that's still changing.
Let's do it next week.
There's a lot still coming in. I think there's more. As I said earlier, there was a hint that I saw that Anonymous is digging into it now, so I think there's still more to come out.
On that note, thank you, Gerard. Don't forget NewGamePlus.tv, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, New Game Plus TV. I have wanted to start up streaming again. I have bought EDF6. I've just been lazy. So
Don won't be watching.
Yeah. Well, there's less spiders in the first few levels. Anyway, on that note, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.